Hello, and thank you for the invitation to be on your podcast. I'm Rachelle Dené Poth. I love learning. I'm a Spanish and STEAM educator full-time and also a full-time consultant and attorney. And I think that I'm actually working on my doctorate now too, so I do a lot of things. I do also manage to sleep, and I'm excited to talk to you about AI or anything that we decide to talk about.
Yeah, we could talk about
maybe
anything.
even food, because there's some ideas we could come up with involving food with AI.
There will be food. There will be food in our conversation. Did you say you're a lawyer as well?
I am.
I knew the Spanish teacher. I knew all the other stuff, the consulting.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes, and a lot of
What
people.
branch of the law? I don't even know how you would name what
know.
part of the law do you focus on?
Well, a mixture of things, and a lot of people think that I was an attorney first and then got into teaching, but I was teaching first and then decided after 5 years of teaching to go to law school, because in Pittsburgh, Duquesne has a program for the evening, so you can be a full-time worker during the day and then go to school for 4 years, 4 nights a week. So I still taught, and I graduated a long time ago, took the bar, passed the bar, and my focus that I really wanted to work in was criminal law. But I didn't want to quit teaching, so the work that I do involving like law now really falls into like the consulting work that I do. So writing agreements, sometimes people will send me contracts to review. So that's kind of it. I did some work with like probate law and writing wills and things like that. But I do get a lot of calls from people for legal advice in different areas. But most of it is just around contracts and writing contracts and making sure that they're,
That they're legit.
Okay, that they're legit, yeah.
Covering your assets, as they call it.
Yes, absolutely.
You just blew my mind. I had no idea. I'm actually looking for somebody for my consulting and stuff as well. So maybe we'll have an off-air conversation.
Maybe we will.
Yes. All right. So let's start with the Spanish teacher. How long have you been teaching Spanish?
Since the 1900s.
Since the 1900s. It's funny. It's funny you say that because it's
Since
technically
the
true.
last century.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get tired of saying that, but yeah, a long time. But I was a French teacher first. I mean, that was my degree, but I could not get a job teaching just French. So I went back, and while substituting for 3 years, I got the degree in Spanish. So then I've been teaching Spanish at my current school for a long time. I won't say how many years, because partially I don't know offhand, but we'll just say it's over 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In your 20 years, however many years you want to call it, I've got probably the same amount of years in education as well as you. I have never seen anything take off as quickly as AI. Can you think of anything? The only thing that I could think of that was even remotely close was the interactive whiteboard.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one. I was thinking like digital tools. I was thinking like Kahoot actually at first.
Oh yeah.
Because only
you got me on
because
that
was, I think that when Kahoot started, which was I think 2014, maybe 2013 initially. That was like almost the launch of this like continued growth in an area of game-based learning, and then other digital tools. Like it just seemed like the use of technology in classrooms like started around that time. So I know that's around the time I started. That's why I got a master's. I never had a master's degree, and then I Googled like master's degree technology, and I found one at Duquesne. And got more into using the technology, but that's the only thing I can think of besides, like you said, like the AI.
Yeah, it hasn't even been a year since ChatGPT officially launched. I think it launched like
it's like November 30th, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. And we're coming up on the year, and it's to the point where I got AI'd out for a bit. I'm not gonna lie, it was overwhelming. The amount of new AI, check out this new AI tool that does this, check out this new AI tool, check out this. And a lot of them kind of did the same thing, and they were built off of the backbone of ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. But I've never seen anything, and I don't know that we will.
Right.
Who knows what the future holds. But what was your initial reaction to ChatGPT?
Well, honestly, my first reaction was not last year. it was in 2020 because I had helped to write and research an article about GPT for Getting Smart for an article. And with Tom Vander Ark, who's the CEO and founder of Getting Smart, he was writing an article, and he knows how much I love edtech and all things tech. So he was writing an article for Forbes, actually. And he had written some information about what GPT was doing. And I remember reading it thinking, like, how is this possible? And that's 2.5 years prior to ChatGPT coming out. And so I had that understanding of it. But then whenever ChatGPT came out, and I spent, it was a Saturday night, I literally 3 hours typing in every prompt that I could possibly think of. It was mind-blowing to see the capabilities of what it could do. And of course, then all the questions came. But I mean, with AI, now I'm almost a couple weeks short of when I first started to do some research and writing and presenting on AI. It's been almost 6 years. And when I think up to last December, people were kind of interested in AI, but they really didn't. I mean, they wanted to learn about it. It was like a wow, but it was still kind of like a hesitancy. I don't know if it's going to stick around, kind of thing. Which is kind of, I feel like AR, VR too. It was kind of like that. I don't know if it's going to stay and so forth. But in the past, from January until now, it's just been crazy how much you're hearing about, you're seeing about the number of tools, the ways that you can use the tools that are out there for AI. It's overwhelming. And I've done some sessions in the last couple of weeks at different events, and the best comment that I got from somebody is I feel like this is just coming at me at warp speed. And I'm like, it is, because that's all you're hearing. And some people say, I feel like AI is a new thing. I said, well, it's actually been around since the 50s. It's not a new thing. It's just you're hearing about it so much because people are, companies are embedding it into whatever their product is. So I get all geeked out about it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is. I remember when I first started playing with it, and there was that holy cow moment where I was thinking of all the time I could save, and then I hit the holy crap moment.
Right.
With, is this going? How many jobs? How many fields of expertise are going to be outdated and just fall by the wayside to this tool?
Yeah.
Did you hit that? Did you ever get that too?
Yeah. And I'm trying to think what it was. It was probably in January. I had after TCCA, I had somebody contact me from the Fox News affiliate in Austin, I think it was.
I saw that.
And they were asking me about it. Prior to that, somebody from EdWeek had reached out saying well, how do you feel about this and all of this? And I said, it's not just going to affect educators. I said, people who are writing, journalists, I just listed all these different careers. I said, those could be replaced by this. I said, is it likely? Yeah, to an extent. I said, but you still have to be able to rely on the information that you're getting. Just because it can do it doesn't mean that it's going to be accurate all the time. My goodness, I typed in write a bio about me. It said I already have my PhD and I'm an associate professor at some university I've never heard of. That's awesome. I can quit my doctoral program right now because I'm already done. But yeah, it's a concerning thing, and not just for educators. I mean, for anybody. Yeah. I mean, AI in general, because of what it can automate and replace. But it's going to cause a shift to different types of work or different types of tasks, I guess.
Yeah, I asked it about me in my podcast. And it talked about it, and it was pretty accurate. And then when it started getting into the episodes, and none of that information was correct. In episode 98, he talks to such and such. I've never had a conversation with that person in my life. I don't even know who the heck that is. But it was interesting because that's when I got the, oh, okay, all right. It's not all just 100% factual information that you take at face value. You have to look at it, and then that's where the but the critical thinking and the problem solving come in, and that's where you can kind of tie off of that. So you know what AI can't do is it cannot bring donuts for you like I can on the EdTech Bites podcast.
Donuts?
You're a part of the show. On this show, it literally says on the wall, we break bread.
Have a bag of donuts?
I have bags of donuts.
Where'd you get these donuts from?
That's why I didn't get anything to eat this morning, because I had. Okay, so last year at TCCA, I went to Shipley Donuts, which is it's a chain in Texas. they're good, but they're not great. And I told myself this year, I want something local.
Okay.
So I found a local spot that was a little out of the way. And I got exactly the amount of bags for the guests that I'm going to have.
That
so,
is
I
the
do it
sweetest,
literally, no pun intended,
thing. And I wish people could smell. Like, I wish this was like there is the VR that you have, like the sensory.
Yeah.
But right now you can't. But
Yeah.
if you could smell the donuts that I can smell right now, it's amazing.
Well, feel free to go ahead and crack into one.
Nobody wants to see that.
No. All right. So there's all these different tools. There's, if I was to ask you, hey, Rachelle, I'm new to this AI thing. What are 3 tools that I could use in my classroom to kind of make my life a little bit easier? What are your 3 go-tos?
I am so glad you didn't just say 1, because that would have been tough.
Yeah. I wanted to say 5, but I pared it down.
Good too.
I met you halfway.
I know that. I appreciate that. Well, one that I will say is Educatioin, and I put them first because they are actually classroom teachers from Pittsburgh. And
From Pittsburgh?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes, and they have over 100 resources available that to choose from. You can do translation, and they keep adding more and more to it. And I like seeing. Well, one, I like that they're in the classroom, so they're hearing from teachers like, this is what we need, and this is what's taking time, and this is how you can improve it. So I really like when I found what they offer. I'm like, oh, this is great. Curipod is another one, and that one I used with my students back, I think, in February of this year, and they were just like, wow, this is amazing. And then I showed them how you create and how quickly it's done and how the AI does what it does, and they just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And for teachers who are looking to save time so they have more time with students, using tools like those two, because of all of the different ways you can use them, and that they have the language translation, so you're looking at accessibility, that is great. And if I'm going to go with a third one, I'm going to go with quizzes, because got to have a game-based learning tool in there, but they, I think it was mid-August, put in the AI enhancement, but now they added all these other features that it can give you can take the quiz you already have and make it have real-world scenarios, you can check the grammar, you can generate extra questions. But the other thing I like, they have with PDFs you can do things, and then also there are a couple tools like this, but you can put the URL for a YouTube video and it can generate questions based on that.
Yes.
Right away. So if you have ever been planning for a class and it's like you find a video at the last minute and you're like, oh, I wish I had an activity for this, just pop that in to quizzes or one of the other tools. I mean, there's several of them out there, and it'll generate it. But I mean, check it first to make sure that it's like accurate, but the ones that I've tested, there's a ton. They're pretty great.
I would say Educate. Actually, I have Educate pinned in my Chrome as one of my first pins, because I love the fact that it has the different categories in which, what is it you're looking for?
Right.
I'm looking for a lesson stem, or I'm looking for activity. It'll create a breakout room for you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
I had a talk with them back in, I guess it was July. We met and we just chatted, and I had no idea they were from Pittsburgh, Thomas and Thomas, both from Pittsburgh, both classroom teachers, and it's great. It's great to see. When I first started to test it out, I think they had like 65 resources, and I've been sharing it in sessions, and then I'm like, oh, that's outdated. Now they're at 75. Yeah. Oh, okay, now they're at 100. So it's good that there are a lot of choices for teachers, because it's hard to make a choice. But when you can find something that offers so much across grade levels or content areas, I think that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, you're kind of covering all bases with that. Yeah. I actually reached out to them about podcast stuff, and that's when I found out that he said, we don't necessarily do anything with podcasts or anything right now. And when you said that they're both classroom teachers, it clicked.
Yeah.
That's why. They're just boots on the ground, just a couple of guys who saw a niche that needed to be filled, and they filled it.
And they actually, now they speak about podcasts, I am going to have Thomas on my podcast, because I like getting people that are creating and working with it in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that conversation. That's not coming up forget. Well, actually, it's November. November is actually just
November
right around the
is
corner.
4 days away.
I don't understand how that is because I feel like it just became October.
Yep.
But yeah, so those whenever, like being in the classroom and seeing what it looks like, it makes a difference. And then making adjustments and all of that, it's important.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. You didn't mention about your podcast that you do when you first introduced yourself, but not only do you do everything you do, but you have a show. You have a web show.
Yes.
Yes. Talk about that.
Yeah, so, my podcast I started, I think 5 years ago now, and the reason I started was because I wanted to do podcasting with my students in my STEAM class, and one day, it was a Monday, I sat down and I just started. It was just me talking to myself, having my own conversation with myself, and it was like 10 minutes, and then I decided every Monday I would record about something. Next thing you know, 5 years later, but in the meantime, I had created a community on Facebook called Thrive in EDU, and Mel McAllister was like,
Shout out to Mel.
Yes, Mel is amazing, and she was doing some lives with Mandy Freilich, and they were doing like a coffee meetup and so forth.
I remember those.
And Mel said, oh, we should do a live. I said, no, I am not doing any Facebook lives or anything like that. And she said, yeah, you should think about it. So like 7 months goes by, I created the Facebook community, and then it was, I think in August, she said, let's just do it. Rachelle and Mel. I'm like, okay. So we did, and it was just us talking, and then I said, we should get some guests. Actually, she brought guests on first. She brought on Rabbi Michael Cohen.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation with him, and then I just started to reach out, or she reached out, and we just had different people on over the years, and we would just do a live show. We were doing Mondays and Fridays, and it was just 30 minutes, fun. We always played a game. We did Thrive O'Clock. We did some holiday ones, but we got away from it a little bit because summer was busy, conferences and things, and we have some others that we'll have coming up, but it was just a nice space to kind of connect and get to see each other, but have some fun. And
especially her being in Alaska.
I know, but ironically, like I've seen her more times than I've seen my friends that live 2 miles down the street. Like I don't know how that happens, but it does. That's why I love conferences so much, because you get to see people, and especially when they live, as far away as she does.
Okay, all right. Educatioin, Curipod, quizzes. That's a hot 3 right there.
It is.
It really is. That's everything I need.
It could be. Legitimately.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, if I'm a math teacher, I could do some higher order thinking stuff with Educatioin.
Yep.
Putting in some prompts. I just used this for math. I had it create some word problems with information that was incorrect, solving it incorrectly, and the kids had to point out what was incorrect, elaborate on it, and then solve it correctly. Quizzes, do a little review on there. Curipod, create a little presentation to fill in any gaps. I got all my bases covered.
I know, and with Curipod too, the nice thing is they have the integration with Genially.
Yes.
And Canva, and of course Canva's another one that you could
Canva,
use with AI.
they
so
do.
much. But I did a session for CuraCon this week and put a lesson together, just samples. But I had a book that a student had created using Genially, and just embedded it right into the lesson, and students could then read it, and then you can have the follow-up question for them to do, like open-ended discussion. It's just so nice how you just like click, put the URL in, it just fully embeds it right in there. Tech it's just amazing.
Remember the days of app smashing?
Oh, ironically, I just finished a session talking about how people have asked me different questions over the years about, oh, you're doing this, and I'm like, oh, wait, what? One example is somebody said, what are you doing for SEL? And I said, what are you doing? Because I didn't know what SEL was, because there's so many acronyms.
I went to the doctor. He gave me medicine, and my SEL went away.
I would have no idea. And my first ISTE in Philly in 2015, I did a poster session and was talking about things I was doing in my classroom, and the woman said, oh, you're app smashing. I said, I'm what? She said, you're app smashing. And I said, I don't know what that is. She said, but you're doing it. I said, okay, but I guess I fell into it because and she explained it to me, and I went, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm app smashing.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. I've learned something new.
I love it. All right. So, how can people connect with you? on social media?
Very easy to do because I try to stay consistent. It's on Twitter or X, Instagram.
Oh, that drives me nuts.
Threads, whichever one you want to pick. It's RDENE 915 because first initial, middle name, Dene, my birth date, because it goes back to creating it during the America Online email times.
Oh, snap.
So RDENE 915.
915.
Yes.
Happy belated.
Thank you.
Or a month and a half.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It's getting close to my half birthday. And you want to send me an email, add the Gmail, my blog site, just put the you-know-whats around the W's and the com. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate your insight, everything you bring to the table, everything you contribute to our educational space, including the legalities.
The legalities.
Because I will definitely have a conversation with you about contracts.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Contracts. We could have a whole podcast episode about my contract law course experience. Where,
snap.
Where because it's the Socratic method, and you had to know the cases, and he legitimately had me answering a question for 3 hours. I learned incredible power of wait time.
Awkward wait time, I bet you.
And then I thought the class was going to end, so I was done. He's like, we'll pick up with Poth next week. Maybe she'll know the answer then. I'm like, okay.
Shots fired.
So then I'm very, very good at reading contracts now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I love it. So, well, thank you for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
And all your AI expertise. And who knows next year what we're going to be talking about.
It's going to be AI. It's just going to be
a different set of
higher
tools
level
and what we're doing it with it
exactly.
Then.
Thank you.
All right. Well, enjoy your donuts and the rest of the conference.
Thank you for those. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.